This video is owned and produced by Hello Kinetic, a channel to practice listening and reading English every day. Learn English through real books. Expand your vocabulary and be good at English. Chapter 18. Dr. Amos Varley was a very different proposition. He had a big old house in a big old garden with big old oak trees shading it. It was a massive frame structure with elaborate scrollwork along the overhang of the porches, and the white porch railings had turned and fluted uprights like the legs of an old-fashioned grand piano. A few frail elderly people sat in long chairs on the porches with rugs tucked around them. The entrance doors were double and had stained glass panels. The hall inside was wide and cool, and the parquetry floor was polished and without a single rug. Altadena is a hot place in summer. It is pushed back against the hills and the breeze jumps clear over it. 80 years ago people knew how to build houses for this climate. A nurse in crisp white took my card, and after a wait Dr. Amos Varley condescended to see me. He was a big bald-headed guy with a cheery smile. His long white coat was spotless. He walked noiselessly on crepe rubber soles. "What can I do for you, Mr. Marlowe?" He had a rich soft voice to soothe the pain and comfort the anxious heart. "Doctor is here, there is nothing to worry about, everything will be fine." He had that bedside manner, thick, honeyed layers of it. He was wonderful, and he was as tough as armor plate. "Doctor, I am looking for a man named Wade, a well-to-do alcoholic who has disappeared from his home. His past history suggests that he is holed up in some discreet joint that can handle him with skill. My only lead is a reference to a Dr. V. You're my third Dr. V. And I'm getting discouraged." He smiled benignly. "Only your third, Mr. Marlowe? Surely there must be 100 doctors in and around the Los Angeles area whose names begin with V. "Sure, but not many of them would have rooms with barred windows. I noticed a few upstairs here, on the side of the house." "Old people," Dr. Varley said sadly, but it was a rich full sadness. "Lonely old people, depressed and unhappy old people, Mr. Marlowe." Sometimes, he made an expressive gesture with his hand, a curving motion outwards, a pause, then a gentle falling, like a dead leaf fluttering to the ground. "I don't treat alcoholics here," he added precisely. "Now if you will excuse me." "Sorry, doctor. You just happened to be on our list. Probably a mistake. Something about a run-in with the narcotics people a couple of years ago." "Is that so?" He looked puzzled, then the light broke. "Ah, yes, an assistant I was unwise enough to employ. For a very short time. He abused my confidence badly." "Yes, indeed." "Not the way I heard it," I said. "I guess I heard it wrong." "And how did you hear it, Mr. Marlowe?" He was still giving me the full treatment with his smile and his mellow tones. "That you had to turn in your narcotic prescription book." That got to him a little. He didn't quite scowl, but he peeled off a few layers of the charm. His blue eyes had a chilly glint. "And the source of this fantastic information?" "A large detective agency that has facilities for building files on that sort of thing. A collection of cheap blackmailers, no doubt." "Not cheap, doctor. Their base rate is $100 a day. It's run by a former colonel of military police. No nickel grabber, doctor. He rates way up." "I shall give him a piece of my mind," Dr. Varley said with cool distaste. "His name?" The sun had set in Dr. Varley's manner. It was getting to be a chilly evening. "Confidential, doctor. But don't give it a thought. All in the day's work. Name of Wade doesn't ring a bell at all, huh? I believe you know your way out, Mr. Marlowe." The door of a small elevator opened behind him. A nurse pushed a wheelchair out. The chair contained what was left of a broken old man. His eyes were closed, his skin had a bluish tinge. He was well wrapped up. The nurse wheeled him silently across the polished floor and out of a side door. Dr. Varley said softly, "Old people. Sick old people. Lonely old people. Do not come back, Mr. Marlowe. You might annoy me. When annoyed I can be rather unpleasant. I might even say very unpleasant. Okay by me, doctor. Thanks for the time. Nice little dying in home you got here. What was that? He took a step towards me and peeled off the remaining layers of honey. The soft lines of his face set themselves into hard ridges. What's the matter? I asked him. I can see my man wouldn't be here. I wouldn't look for anybody here that wasn't too frail to fight back. Sick old people. Lonely old people. You said it yourself, doctor. Unwanted old people, but with money and hungry heirs. Most of them probably judged incompetent by the court. I am getting annoyed, Dr. Varley said. Light food, light sedation, firm treatment. Put them out in the sun, put them back in the bed. Bar some of the windows in case there's a little spunk left. They love you, doctor, one and all. They die holding your hand and seeing the sadness in your eyes. It's genuine too. It certainly is, he said in a low throaty growl. His hands were fists now. I ought to knock it off. But he had begun to nauseate me. Sure it is, I said. Nobody likes to lose a good-paying customer. Especially one you don't even have to please. Somebody has to do it, he said. Somebody has to care for these sad old people, Mr. Marlowe. Somebody has to clean out cesspools. Come to think of it, that's a clean, honest job. So long, Dr. Varley. When my job makes me feel dirty, I'll think of you. It will cheer me up no end. You filthy louse, Dr. Varley said between his wide white teeth. I ought to break your back. Mine is an honorable branch of an honorable profession. Yeah. I looked at him wearily. I know it is. Only it smells of death. He didn't slug me, so I walked away from him and out. I looked back from the wide double doors. He hadn't moved. He had a job to do, putting back the layers of honey.